welcome back to another week of the 15-Minute Fix. We're so excited for you all to be here with us today. I am joined as always by my co-host, Kimberly Robinson, and today we have a special guest, world-changing publisher, Timothy Obon. Thanks for being here, Tim and Kim. I like saying that. All right, so today we are talking about becoming an employeepreneur. We're going to talk about what an employeepreneur is. So there are three types of employees. So we have conventional employees that tend to be employed maybe in conventional brick and mortar or online stores by conventional employees, some in bigger businesses or nonprofits, many different sectors. And then we have persons who are entrepreneurs. Again, they could have many types of businesses, but they own their own business. That's the distinction. Now, employeepreneurs are a unique portion of the population that have a foot in both worlds. So they may work for an employer conventionally, but they also have said, hey, I want to own my own business. I may not be ready to fully go out on my own, but I like to have my own business in this process as well. So we call that unique portion of the population employeepreneurs. I know I am an employeepreneur. Kim, you're an employeepreneur as well. And Tim not only published my book entitled Employeepreneur, which we'll talk about later, but he is an employeepreneur as well. So Tim, thanks so much for being here. And we're looking forward to talking with you today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a study that I read recently, and it was talking about how 65% of employees that they surveyed are staying where they are. They're deciding to stay in their conventional places of employment, but they're complacent. They're saying, hey, I may not be giving it 100%, but I'm not really ready to go. I'm trying to figure this out. And then there are about 21% of people that they surveyed that said, okay, I'm actively engaged rather. Now that's not a huge, percentage. If an employer were looking at that, they'd say, man, I hope they didn't survey my company and only get 21%. So we know that there are some people in between, but those are the two numbers that I wanted to bring up. Now, what are some of the reasons that people would want to start their own business, even if they're conventionally employed? So the study went on to talk about how some people are just ready to be their own boss. Maybe they've looked in their company or at other companies and said, you know what? I think I could do this. I think that with the self-management tools and skills that I have, I could be my own boss and maybe even eventually employ some other people. Another reason is many people want to pursue their own passions. How many of us out there have just said, man, I've got a great idea. If somebody just heard this idea and helped me take this idea and run with it, it could really take off. So pursuing our own passions. A number of people also are just dissatisfied with what they're experiencing in corporate America. I've seen that. I've experienced that. I understand it. For another percentage of the population, they said, hey, the opportunity just presented itself. I was fine where I was, but this great idea came along one day and I couldn't resist. And then finally, we have some people that might have experienced a layoff in their place of employment. And they said, you know what? I'm going to make the best of this and I'm going to take this opportunity, not to just job hunt, but maybe create a business that I've been thinking about for a while or that just came to mind. But I will say that it's not always easy for many people. So there are some challenges for some along the way. And the top three challenges that were reported were lack of capital to get started, recruiting and retaining employees, and also marketing and advertising. So, Kim, tell us a little bit about this. Let's talk about being an employeepreneur today. I think this is an exciting space.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting. I know for me, while I didn't have a term for it, I've always said that I wanted to have a conventional job, but I was also driven by the opportunity to have my own business and make additional money. There's something about that idea of having that idea, finding a need, and being able to generate income from it. I, for one, really enjoy the corporate space. I enjoy the opportunities that lie there, some of the experiences and networking that you get from that. But in addition to that, throughout my life, and I can probably remember as young as maybe 9 or 10, having these harebrained ideas and wanting to make money for it, whether it was for money to go on some type of a trip, whether it was just to have spending money so I didn't have to ask my parents and be denied because they wanted me to spend money on something silly. I was always driven by that and have done a number of things. I think I remember we used to go on road trips all the time throughout our lives. And one of the road trip games Kash and I used to always play were like how many jobs we've had and what they've been and list them out. So we'll save that for another episode because I don't want to take up time talking about that. But let's just say I've dabbled in lots of different things, and taken experiences from all of them. But again, always knew that I wanted to be a conventional employee, but always had that entrepreneurial spirit as well. And I think it's interesting, as I researched as well, some, facts about entrepreneurs, they said that 60% of people that become entrepreneurs actually do so within the age range between 40 and 60. I think, this was probably about 3 years ago that this article was from, but if we look at that now, I think that is getting younger and younger, probably for a number of reasons. The access that people have to get the resources to be able to start a business, are becoming more accessible, and people are seeing that it really doesn't require you to be at a certain age. I also think just the generation that we're in now, our parents and our grandparents, they were, of the mindset, you go to school, you get a job, you provide for your family, and that was really just the past. So probably a lot of those people maybe explored some of their own dreams and aspirations later on in life because they kind of just went the conventional route and eventually decided that, they could either support their family better in a different way, whatever that may be. But I really feel like, this day and age, we're seeing a lot of young people coming up and, not being afraid to try out their ideas. So I think that's really exciting. But, something to consider is they also said about 22.5% of people actually fail with their businesses in the first year. So while, I think that all of us here will say that, whatever your idea is, there is a path for you to be able to pursue that in whatever capacity that you're able to. It's also important to take advantage of some of the resources that are available to ensure that you have the tools and resources available to be able to make it successful. And that's not to say that every idea that you have will make it, because some of the times as an entrepreneur, as we all know, like that's just a part of the trial and error. But you do want to make sure that you have everything and use everything at your disposal to be able to at least put your foot in and set your intentions in the right direction. So we wanted to hear from Tim. He's our featured employeepreneur for today. So tell us some of the considerations that you have as an employeepreneur in order for you to be successful.
Well, first of all, again, I want to thank you both for having me on the show. I do believe I can I can speak to this because of the fact that of the last 15 out of the 16 years that I've been running my publishing company, I've been an employeepreneur. And like you, Kim, I didn't have an idea of what that name was until the great Dr. Kasha came up with coined this term. But as an employee, and I'm sorry, let me say this as well. I am no longer an employeepreneur. I do this full time now, but that just started like in September. And
Congrats.
I may write a book one day entitled "Congratulations on Getting Fired," because it literally was the best thing that could have happened, and that's a whole different story that Dr. Gordon knows about, and we can talk about that another day. But as far as considerations for being an employeepreneur, one of the things that I have had the experience of doing is I was an admissions rep for a college, for two colleges. And what I would do is contact people, talk to them about going to school. And, one thing that was common amongst all of them is that they were looking for a new career path. They were not happy with their career. And so a lot of those people that I talked to, I'd ask them what they wanted to do. And of course, they would say, I want to start my own business. And, I'd ask them, why do you want to do it? Not to discourage them, but I really want them to think it out. And a lot of them would say, well, I don't want to work for anybody. I want to work for myself. or I want to, travel more and not be in an office. And I just think to myself, oh boy, if you only knew what it took to be an entrepreneur, you work just as hard, if not harder. And so some of the things to consider as an employeepreneur are going to be a few things that, first of all, I would say, first of all, you want to consider finding a business of purpose.
Mm,
And I think this is very important because as an entrepreneur, especially an employeepreneur who's working full time, which is going to take about 80% of your time, right? And then the rest of your time you're going to try to give to your family and your personal life and your own personal relaxation. So you're not going to have a lot of time to put towards your business. So you're going to experience a lot of obstacles, a lot of frustration as you try to build that business. So you want it to be a business of purpose, because when you have purpose, then you can deal with those struggles and those obstacles a little bit better. It's even though you're dealing with the obstacles, it's a part of who you are. It's a part of what you want to do, and so it's not as easy to give up on it, because it's something of passion. So finding that purpose is definitely something that you really want to consider when you're thinking about the type of business. And I know Dr. Gordon doesn't like using the term side gig or anything like that, but if you are an employeepreneur, go ahead, Doc. You got something to say?
yeah, I was gonna say, never let people make you feel like the business that you truly love, your own startup business, has to be the side hustle. That can be your main job, and the other one can be like a paid internship. You learn on that job, and we call it the fun versus the funding. So one of them might be funding your dreams. That's your 9 to 5, but the fun is what you really want to do. So never let people make you feel like it's your side job. I always say that's my
So
job.
you
And
want that to be something of purpose. Don't just chase money, because I can guarantee you, if you're just chasing money, you're gonna move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So one consideration is find purpose, and I have a little equation about how you find your purpose. And that equation is, if you take your gift and you add it to your passion, you will find your purpose. That gift is that thing that you do that's really unique to yourself, that nobody else can do. My gift is writing, right? My passion, though, my passion is helping people. So I take my gift of literary arts and writing and editing, and I add that to my passion in helping people, and I found my purpose in publishing, or book production and book producing. So that's my first. The second, I would say, thing to consider is count the cost. Count the cost of how much time it's going to take for you to pursue your fun versus your funding, right? Take the time to consider the impact that's going to have on your time. It's, take the time to consider the impact it's going to have on your family, if you have a family, and then take time to figure out the financial impact as well. A lot of people don't understand that when you run your own business, you may not get paid immediately.
right.
You may have to take the money that you're making and reinvest in the company. And you have to be okay with that if you're serious about growing your business. You
Mm.
cannot eat your seed. You have to replant the seed so that you can grow the business. And then lastly, I would say, consider your goal. What's the end goal? If the end goal is just to make a few bucks to pay off some bills, that's one thing. If you're serious about growing your business into a self-sustaining business, then you're going to have to really consider a lot more about the time you put into it. Like I said, how much money you take from it or money you put into it. So there are a lot of factors and variables that are going to change depending on your end goal. So you want to consider those three areas, um, in my opinion. And I know that's not an exhaustive list, but those are three areas that I think really impacted me through my process of employpreneurship.
Those are
Awesome.
great. considerations, and I appreciate you sharing that. I'm actually learning and jotting some things down as you're talking. I will say, in addition to those considerations, if you had to choose a lesson learned that you could share with our 15-minute fixers, what would you add to that?
Oh man, um, top lesson is you can't be everything in your business. You know, as an
Mhm.
employeepreneur, your time is really hindered. And one of the things that I dealt with is after work, I was mentally drained.
Mhm.
And trying to come home and then sit in front of a computer again and do things that I could have outsourced, those things got put on the back burner. So you have to find your team, and maybe you can't pay people a salary, but maybe you can pay them as you earn money. Maybe you can pay them a commission. You can find free interns. You got to share the load though, because if you that is the fastest way to destroy your business is to try to be everything, to be the
Mhm.
Mm,
boss, to be the marketer, to be the delivery man, the accountant, the lawyer. You're going to destroy yourself and the business going together. So, and then I would say the second thing I learned, which I've already mentioned, is you can't eat your seed. The money that comes in, especially if you don't have capital, really does need to go back into the business
Mhm.
to grow the business. And this is for full-time entrepreneurs and employeepreneurs, especially if you're an employeepreneur. This is the best time for you, actually. As an employeepreneur, use your money that you're making from your job. That's your money for you. The money for the business, allow it to stack up, allow it to be reinvested to grow the business even more than where it is right
awesome. Tim, can you share with us some resources that you've used along your journey that will help our listeners who are in the position of either becoming entrepreneurs or employeepreneurs?
now. Absolutely. When I think of resources, I know we think of books, but I would say most importantly, the top resources that I would say is either a coach, a mentor, or some kind of accountability fellowship, friendships, people who hold you accountable, people who have like minded goals and objectives. Because, like I said, this life of entrepreneurship and employeepreneurship, it's tough. And Dr. Gordon and Kim, I'm sure you both have experienced. It is not for the weak, and you're going to have times where you say, I'm done with this. I have a partner and an accountability partner and a coach, and there are a number of times when I told them, hey, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And it was, those groups of friends and accountability partners that kept me pushing just to get over those humps. So that's going to be an invaluable resource that everyone should have, no matter what business or approach you're taking. You have to have a community of people who are going to push you over those tough times. Um, and then you definitely want to take advantage of the free resources that are provided through your city or your government. Small business administrations. In Nashville, we have an entrepreneur center. We have a business incubator. There's a new thing called Renew Nashville. Due to COVID, the city is pumping money into resources for small businesses. These are resources that are available that you need to take advantage of. So those are resources that I would say should be your first steps, because as you get involved in those communities, you're going to find out more about what's available out there, grants, money that's available to help you. So those are some very important resources that I would say.
Awesome.
And I'd like to add to that, and those are great resources. I'd like to add the Small Business Development Center, which is also a federal initiative where you can receive um, business consulting and other resources that they have free of charge, classes that are usually free, but up to maybe $20. I mean, bare minimum. And so those are amazing resources. That's the Small Business Development Center. Also, SCORE is another organization you can receive professional business mentoring through. But to your point about mentorship and accountability partners, Absolutely, 100. You all need to make that happen. I definitely have taken advantage of that, and that's helped me so much in my journey. I would also like to add, I would be remiss if I did not say the book Employeepreneur by yours truly, published by this world changing publisher, Timothy O. Bond, because in this book, and you don't, this is not trying to convince you to just leave your job and become an entrepreneur if that path is not for you, but first it asks you to think about the work situation that you're in. How do you know when to go, or if you should leave your employer? I walk you through those steps and how to think about that. And then if you decide that entrepreneurship or employeepreneurship is for you, then I walk you through the steps of how to do that practically in my book. And you can find the ebook on Amazon, Employeepreneur by Dr. Kasha L. Gordon, or on my website, www.frontrunnerleadership.com, if you'd like to purchase the hard copy or the paperback copy. And Tim, tell us how we can reach you as well. If people have questions about your publishing services or becoming an employeepreneur, because we have a lot of wisdom beyond our short time together that we could share. How can they reach you?
Absolutely. Please reach out to me at truevinepublishing.org. My telephone number is 615-44-BOOKS, 615-44-BOOKS. And, looking forward to helping in any way we can. TrueVine is not just about uh, making people clients. We do a lot to just help inform people and help people understand the process of publishing. I believe if I can be there for someone and help them through their process, whether they become a client or not, I've done my job and I've fulfilled my purpose.
Absolutely. Tim also has great interviews with people that he has done publishing work for called
Yeah,
The Right Change, WRITE, The Right Change on LinkedIn. You can connect with him there as well. So
at
thanks so much. Yeah,
Facebook at The Right Change, and then my YouTube channel is True Vine University.
great, great. And so before we leave, let's challenge our fixers.
Absolutely. I want to challenge you all to find a coach or mentor this week. It could be for anything that you find important in your life. Of course, we're talking about business, but I believe everyone needs a coach. And you may have several different types of coaches. But as far as business, find a mentor or an accountability group or a coach who will help you take that next step.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Tim, thank you for being here. Kim, thanks as always for being my co-hostess with the mostest. Always glad to chat with you. And Tim, just glad to get your wisdom on this topic. So you all please connect with Tim. We'll see you all next week for another episode of the 15-Minute Fix. You all have a great evening.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Take
Thank you.
care.